Time for us to check in with Amanda Lang, host of Taking Stock, which airs Friday evening at 6 o'clock here on BNN Bloomberg on the network and on the iHeart Radio network. So, Amanda, lots to talk about. Busy week for Tiff Macklin, of course. Yesterday, we found out the Bank of Canada not moving on interest rates, at least for now. But the consensus seems to be June. I don't know how many times we've said this before. June looks like the first potential cut. You on board with that?
Yeah, I was more on board with it before today's jobs report, if I'm honest. Definitely it seemed as though what Macklin has been telegraphing, and he did do it again this week at committee, is he's pretty comfortable that, definitely inflation is trending in the right way, and there's just enough weakness out there to kind of give him comfort that he won't be stoking fires if he does move. And then we get the jobs report, which is 90,000 jobs added. 50,000 of those are private sector jobs, so quality jobs. We still have 4.8% wage growth. I looked at this and thought, if you're Tiff Macklin, you may well say July is just fine to cut rates for the first time. So that story might have changed a little bit today.
So when you talk about the jobs report and the numbers, so we're talking disappointing numbers in terms of how many jobs were added, and then add to that the fact that the average wage has gone up. Is that the issue?
No, it's a great number. 90,000 is a very strong number. So what Tip doesn't want to do is cut rates just in time to restoke inflation. He's in this delicate period here where he can see the finish line. He's managed to rein in everybody's expectations, dampen our spending, dampen our lending. That was the whole kind of conundrum of inflation is he has to try to slow the economy down just enough, but not kill it into a deep recession. And they did a pretty good job of that. We definitely we achieved the soft landing everybody hoped for. We're not seeing a deep recession. The danger now is they declare victory and they spike the ball on the 5-yard line, and inflation comes roaring back. And the second time will be harder. So yeah, I would say strong jobs market means. Now I will also tell you that the jobs numbers, this isn't very helpful to most people, but the jobs numbers are kind of inaccurate. Everybody kind of knows that this labor force survey is a little bit bogus. However, we report it every month. So when we report, we may as well report the good ones as well as what we call the bad ones.
Yeah, I will mention as well, if I got this right, during the week, during this financial update, he talked about something, and this was interesting because we've heard so many times over and over about, when mortgage rates get renewed, there's going to be a lot of hurt for Canadians because rates, have gone up. But he brought up renters specifically, which is something else that we don't talk about as much.
Absolutely. He's looking at affordability and the issues that make that make inflation sticky. Wages is one piece of it. And then, rising rents is another because you're locked in at a new higher level for longer. And that affordability piece, he said this before, it's not in his control. You need more rental units on the market. You need more family homes on the market. And that's happening slowly. So that's a place that they have to watch. Even though they don't control it, it does have an influence, right, on you're going to go demand higher wages if your rent goes up. If the landlord is having higher mortgage rates for longer, he's going to want to raise his rent. So we do get into this cycle of higher costs everywhere. It's obviously on their mind.
So let's move on from that and talk about something we discussed actually last week with this whole capital gains tax in the wake of the federal budget, something that was presented separately. So we heard, it seems, from individuals, I think I might have mentioned doctors at the time, kind of looking at this going, this is grossly unfair. Now we have private equity and business groups sort of banding together to let the government know, no, we're not good with this. You need to walk this back. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to put it in the category of unsurprising in the sense that small businesses especially, and this does impact them, do not like new taxes. They certainly don't like higher taxes. A change, I think we talked about this, the change is in some ways as hard as the increase because you would have made plans based on assumptions about the way things are. I have to say, to me, the whole debate about this capital gains tax is missing the point a little bit because we do have a government that needs to raise revenue. We've let this government spend more than we are sending in taxes for many years now. And it hasn't even reined in the pandemic increases. They brought them down a little bit, but we're not at pre-pandemic government spending. And if we're going to do that and we're not going to insist on balanced budgets, we are going to have higher taxes. So you tell me where they should come. Should they come in the form of a higher GST? Should we raise income taxes? Or should we do a capital gains tax? People will argue which is better, but that we need taxes to go up. I think this is the price we pay for allowing this spending.
So, I mean, the government's obviously, I would think, not going to reverse position, certainly based on this. But it seems to me the argument being made now is that, you know what, this is just going to do beyond, trying to raise this extra money. It's going to curtail productivity, something we can, of course, afford in Canada less and less because we see that slipping on a month-to-month basis. Will that make a difference?
I don't believe that this is going to affect either business investment or productivity. What I find most so interesting about this particular tax increase is that the government wanted to frame it as a tax on the wealthy, and that should score them political points. It should be painful for some, but actually be a winner at the ballot box. Turns out it's not. It's painful for some and universally hated. Even if you're not in the category of people that are going to pay it, people don't like this. And so that it's a bit of an interesting problem for them that they did it. I agree. I don't think they're going to reverse it. But boy, it's not winning for them in terms of the optics of it. So you wonder if they're kind of regretting it. I don't know. But as I say, they need the money. And so where will that revenue come from? It does come from a relatively small number of people at the end of the day.
To your point, polls that have come out since the budget, and we've had now, a couple of weeks to take this all in, really the government has gained nothing polling-wise at all.
Yep. That's right. And so, it's interesting to me because we saw this before when they tried to frame, a change in corporate tax structure, small business taxes as a tax on the wealthy. And there was a hue and cry back then that, may have cost Bill Morneau his job. And so it's interesting that they didn't get the message there that a lot of Canadians don't feel quote unquote wealthy and they're still caught up in this stuff. If they have a cottage, if they are, a doctor who's incorporated so that, he can save his money for retirement, these aren't people you would think of as, Warren Buffett's rolling around in private jets, but They certainly are hit by this and they do not like it.
Speaking of millionaires, new figures out showing that Toronto now ranks among the wealthiest cities in the world. I guess that in itself is not necessarily news. I was kind of surprised where I thought Vancouver would be at the top of this list. It's not.
I was a bit surprised by that too, actually. It's interesting because Toronto is 13th in the world. And I was actually struck by the number of billionaires in the city, which is, now approaching 20. It's above a couple of dozen, which is a big number. It's good news for the city, maybe because, people in Quebec another reason to hate Toronto. I don't know. But it's good news for the city in terms of kind of access to people that are spending and investing in a tax base. And it speaks to how much money is being made. Yeah. And honestly, this has been a story now for a few decades, but if you have money, you can make money, and it's never been more true. So the investor class, as we might call it, it's easier to get wealthy right now than it's ever been.
Kind of rubs it in the face of Montreal, doesn't it, to see this year after year? And I know Toronto was in there last year. I think they fell a place, right? They were 12th last year, 13th this year, but still one of the wealthiest in the world. Do you have any idea where Montreal fits in? Did we make the top, 100?
I don't.
I'm going to have to look it up.
I
should.
I don't know.
Okay.
Let's look it up. I mean, Montreal definitely Quebec has its share of very wealthy families and very successful businesses, so wouldn't be totally out of the running.
Are these people, by the way, if in this list in Toronto, are these, corporate types? Are they working for big businesses or just independents? Do we know? Do they break it down?
It's they don't really give you the whole list of individuals. A lot of them are families, so this is multi-generational wealth. And again, the best way to be rich is to have rich grandparents. It's never been more true that intergenerational wealth is the gift that keeps on giving. And back to the capital gains tax, that's one way to get at some of that money. There is sort of a number of people who have wealth that they inherited and yes, they put it to work, but it'd be great to tax some of that in their hands.
Amanda Lang. Amanda, as always, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Great to talk.